Play stopped at 4:52 p.m. It's almost 9:52 p.m. For the last 4 hours, all of us here in the English and the Hindi studio, we've enjoyed Cricbuzz's gold-class hospitality while being really, really upset as cricket people. If you're still watching, you are a true blue cricket fan. Well done. Two true blue cricket experts in the studio. I know I'm not allowed to be angry on a cricket show, but this is farcical.
Okay, I've never, I don't know what you look like when you're angry, so I don't mind taking a look.
No, not on a show, sir. See, even my phone is upset. Shut up. Sorry.
Is your phone talking to you?
Yeah.
So I've seen it all. I've been on a program where Joy Bhattacharya's phone starts relaying the program that we are talking on. Now your phone's talking to you. And I'll tell you the only genuinely interesting thing that happened today was that DK changed his shirt for the post-game show.
Oh, I never noticed.
No, we saw some good cricket. While the cricket was on, I genuinely think we saw some good cricket. We saw some quality fast bowling from Naseem Shah. We saw once again that very good change of pace from Shaheen Shah Afridi. I thought Shubman Gill was fantastic. Then Rohit coming back into his own. So there were little positives for India. The cricket that we saw, you have to admit, is pretty good cricket.
How do you end up being so objective after what we've just endured for the last 4 hours? I mean, are cricket fans justified in being upset?
40 years, 40 years.
40 years of Harsha Bhogle!
But this is not a program about what happened in the last 4 hours. This is a program about what happened before those 4 hours.
That's true, sir.
And what is going to happen over the next 75 hours tomorrow.
It's a TDI, sir. It's a 2-day international. New formats our fraternity sort of comes up with every time. The cricket was heartening from an India perspective. Good to see the openers among the runs. Shubman Gill looked so good.
Heartening is a very soft word. It was breathtaking. I can tell you it was a quality spell from Naseem Shah. Shaheen Shah Afridi slightly fuller. But my geez, both these batters, Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma, I just enjoyed watching them bat. For me, Rohit Sharma was a star because the first over, he flicks the ball for a 6. His first run is a 6. Then the short over covers of Naseem Shah set the marker saying, you know what, we are coming at you, Pakistan. I love that message that they sent, followed up by some scintillating shots from Shubman Gill. We always use the word delicious for food, but I think those shots are actually delicious. The cover drives, the back foot square drive. I thought it was if this is the standard that the Indian openers can bat with, we are in for a cracking World Cup.
Life seems beautiful when Rohit Sharma bats like that.
When Rohit Sharma bats well, he is an object of great joy. When he's pulling, when he's flicking through the onside, as he said, when he's hitting through cover, because he's a little laid back, because he's not like, come look at me kind of player. And I'm not comparing to Virat. I'm just saying that's his personality. We sometimes don't talk about him enough, but there are few more eye-catching players in world cricket over the last 10 years than Rohit Sharma. Beautiful touch player. But today, there's a young man opposite who said, I can bat in your vein as well. Beautiful touch batting from Shubman Gill as well. 56 of 49. He was 27 of 37 at one point.
And he covered up.
So which means in the next 8 balls, he got another 25-30 runs.
I doubt if Babar Azam will want to ever bowl Shadab Khan at Rohit Sharma. It might have just upset their World Cup plans. They'll be forced to rethink, right?
No. I think it was just a bad start by Shadab Khan. He obviously wasn't in good rhythm at the start, but you also saw what he can do when he picks up a wicket. He just kind of put a stranglehold on KL Rahul and Virat Kohli. There wasn't a boundary scored after that of his bowling. The moment he got that first wicket, kept things tight. So he's a very good bowler. I mean, by no means is he somebody that Babar Azam is going to fret overnight thinking, geez, should I bowl him to Rohit Sharma? But this is the second time Rohit Sharma is really taking him on. I've seen it in 2018 Asia Cup where he just took him to the cleaners. This one being the second one, but also in between some good shot making, some poor balls were bowled by Shadab Khan. Though I don't think they need to worry per se. The good thing about great players is they will come back. And when they come back from adversity, they always come back better. In that short span of time, you saw what he could do the moment he got a wicket. So that augurs well for Pakistan. So Shadab Khan is not a worry. I think what will worry them, though, is how the Indian batters played Shaheen Shah Afridi. I think the conditions suited fast bowling at that point. Shaheen Shah Afridi tried a bit. In fact, I would say they bowled better than what they did in the first match that they played India. So they actually bowled a better spell. But here it was India calling the shots. And that for me is a statement and a good statement.
Only 24.1 overs. I know it's not a big sample size, Harsha, but were the seeds of doubt sown in Pakistan's mind? Are they saying, listen, we need a plan B on our bowling?
If they are, then they have a problem. Because over 24 overs, if they have to start thinking of a plan B, they have a problem. I don't think they will, because they will also look at the positives. Now, we looked at the positives for India. They will look at the positives in their change room. I'd imagine they would. They would look at Naseem Shah's spell. They'll say, okay, we didn't get a wicket in the first 10 overs. So how did we come back? Shaheen Shah Afridi has shown again that he's a better bowler with the old ball than he's been before. I think he's grown as an old ball bowler, so they will look at it that way as well. So and remember, there's only 24 overs.
Yep.
You can come back in the back 26 too. So I don't think they need to worry too much. They've had a pretty good run of late, so I don't think they need to worry so much. Yeah, I don't think so.
You had a long chat with Zair Khan on that slow delivery that got Shubman Gill's wicket. What did you learn from him?
Deception. You could see technically what he does is because he has this wrist whip when he bowls the normal ball, and for his action, when he decides to bowl a slower ball, he changes it rather late in his delivery stride. So it becomes really difficult as a batter to pick which one is the slow ball and which is the normal ball, and hence you're always playing for the stock ball, which comes at 140. But the last minute change of wrist means that at the point of delivery, your mind is telling you it's a 140 ball, so you're getting ready to play that, and then by the time you realize it's a slower one, you're a little late. That's why you see when they're about to play a shot, they stop the shot because they know that they are late. They're kind of caught wanted while playing that ball. Second time, you must say that Shaheen Shah Afridi has deceived an Indian batsman. So this is a very good sign for Pakistan, because if Shaheen Shah Afridi can bowl that slower ball and get wickets, then you will see him pick up quite a few wickets in this World Cup, because with the new ball, he is lethal, as we know. But if he can pick you wickets through the middle and at the death, and with this slower one being how effective it seems to be, then there are quite a few wickets in store for the Pakistani paceman.
Harsha, from the outside, from a certain distance, watching on television, fans are always looking for signs. They're imagining theories. Did you get the impression that Shubman Gill now has this role of just going all out and attacking without getting out?
I hope not. I think he's a better player. I think today they would have decided, today this is how we are going to play Shaheen Afridi. So, right, I'll play that role. I'll take the odd chance. But he's such a good player playing his normal, natural game that he doesn't need to come out and play, go boom, boom, boom every single time. Yeah. If he sees that the conditions are right for it, he might as well go ahead and do it. But he's far too good a player. And with Shubman Gill, strike rate has never been a problem anyway. I mean, you've seen him when he was even younger, when you were with him at KKR. I don't think strike rate is going to be a problem for Shubman Gill. Yeah. I think today it was tactical, that let's try and go after Shaheen Afridi and see how he goes. I don't know if he needs to play like this every single time. He's far too good a player to go in with a set game plan in every game.
It'll be silly of Indian fans to now assume that all India's problems are solved. Yes, we had a good opening stand, but issues need to be addressed.
We all know what the issues are. A lot of players haven't had enough game time. That has been the biggest issue. Injuries. We also had Shreyas Iyer with a back spasm. Considering that he's had a back surgery and then he gets a back spasm, is that something we need to know about? Because obviously we want Shreyas Iyer to be fit and playing all games. Is it because of the injury that happened before that it is again kind of come up for him? Or is it just one of those rare things in the gym or while picking a bat, or any one of the other reasons that we had spoken about is why his back got stiff? KL Rahul needs game time. You saw a little bit rusty when he was batting.
No? But yeah, but overall I thought he looked okay, no, today?
He played this fast bowler well. Haris Rauf, the short ball, he did play well. Spinners, he rotated decently, but it'll take time. It's never easy. I've been in games when after an injury, you even go to a domestic game, you feel very alien just batting there with 11 people around you trying to do things to get you out. And you just feel very awkward at the start, but you slowly get into rhythm. So KL Rahul will definitely get into rhythm. Interesting call that they went with Ishan Kishan. We've spoken before, will Ishan Kishan and Rahul be part of the 11? We've seen it happen so early when nobody expected it to. Yes, because of an injury to Shreyas, but it did happen. So there are quite a few questions. Jasprit Bumrah, how is he going to bowl? Shardul Thakur, the batsman. So there are a few questions that are unanswered.
I think peculiarly, India would want to bowl tomorrow. Because as we said, it was critical that Shreyas Iyer got some batting. It was critical KL Rahul got some batting. just as critical it is that Jasprit Bumrah should have bowling behind him. He cannot only be bowling to Ireland.
Yep.
So you need to test Jasprit Bumrah against quality batting. Let him bowl to Babar Azam, to Imam, to Fakhar Zaman, to all these guys. So I think India need many more overs against quality batting for Bumrah. So actually, India may not want tomorrow's game to get washed out. India want to play tomorrow.
Is one part of you saying thank God they didn't play today because the field did not look great?
Yeah,
We
but
don't
they
want
wouldn't
any
have
player
played
to get injured.
Yeah, but that's the umpire's prerogative. The umpire would not have allowed you to play. And remember, it's the umpires have not only got to factor in how it is today, though they are not forced to think about what lies ahead. In their mind, the umpires will know there's a World Cup ahead. So the umpires have to factor that in. I'm sure they're talking to Rahul Dravid. I'm sure they're talking to the Pakistani coaches. They're saying, no, do we want our boys to play? And if you remember what Chris Gaffney said, he said the two areas where it was wet were the areas where there's a lot of lateral movement for the fielders.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't want to take a chance with that. So there was never going to be, they were never going to start play unless they were absolutely certain.
Can either captain or coaches say we don't want to play?
No.
No.
It's the umpire's prerogative. If he decides that the field is fit for play, then you got to go ahead and play.
Yeah.
Though a lot of times the umpires will ask for the opinion. Did you have a look? Did you just walk around? What did you guys feel? It'll be feedback more than whether it's the last word taken on it. It will be the umpire's call.
In a qualification kind of scenario, say in a World Cup final or in a World Cup game where a team needs a certain net run rate to qualify, can a team say we want to play?
No.
They-
It is
there's
again
no
the
way they
umpire's
can-
call.
There's no negotiation.
Light ground conditions always belongs to the umpire these days.
Right.
I
there
mean,
was-
they might gently persuade the umpire, but it depends. The umpire might say, well tried, I'm not being persuaded. Sorry, the conditions are not good enough. Because don't forget, if one team wants the run rate, the other team doesn't.
doesn't work, yeah.
So the ground is entirely at the...
There was one pull shot that KL Rahul hit that made DK go, wow. Sure, it made you happy.
Anybody who can pull Haris Rauf has to be a special shot. And I say that because he's a skiddy customer and one of his strengths is his bouncer apart from his yorker. So in the middle of his spell, when he's just walked into bat, he's looking a bit rusty, he's trying to find his feet. I completely know what KL Rahul is feeling at this point of time as a batter. He's just trying to get bat on ball. Just, it's an international game. There's a lot of pressure that goes along with it. He expects a performance from himself or the team, etc. And then Haris Rauf obviously at the top of his mark, trying to do everything he can to do KL Rahul out. So just that moment where he picked the short ball early and was able to hit it in front of square tells me that he switched on, he's getting into good position. So that was good to watch. And as I said before, Haris Rauf is not an easy bowler to play through the middle because of how skiddy he is as a customer. Most of his wickets you see even here and through the World Cup will be a lot of people trying to pull, and because of lack of time they'll get out either cotton bowl caught by the fielders around the bat.
So all I'll say, people watching, is if you're reading an article of 1,000 words, if there are two good sentences, it doesn't make it a great article. It means started well. There's a couple of good sentences in there, but it's not already a great article. So we've seen encouraging signs from both Shreyas and from KL Rahul, but it's 9 balls in that game. It's about 10-15 balls in this
20,
game.
yeah.
Let's hold our judgment until we've seen them play a long innings, and then we'll get a better idea. The signs are good. He looks fit. The signs are good, but I mean, he ran hard for 2, but we'll wait and see.
One of the new things in our country or in India is that it is an impatient generation. It likes to get on with it. And I suppose Darshan Shah, who sent in a question with hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live, also belongs to the generation that wants to get on with it. They do not want to see a one-day international being played for 2 days. And he says, on days when there's rain threat, should the ICC adopt 25 overs each side concept, 25 overs one side bats, 25 overs the other? And again, the same, it's essentially 25 by 4. It's something, an idea that was first proposed by Master Sachin Tendulkar.
Even before him. They actually tried that out in Australia. They tried this out in Australia. Now, there's 2 ways of playing the 25 overs each side. One is to say, okay, one set of players play 25 overs, then the other side bats. Now your openers come back and play the next 25. So effectively, you're playing
4 innings.
You're playing 4 innings, but effectively it means your 7, 8, 9, 10 are never going to bat, almost.
Yep.
That you come back and again your openers bat. So effectively, you're playing a 2-inning 50 overs game.
Yeah.
The other option is to say no, which is what Australia tried. They said we'll play 25 overs, stop the game at the 25 over mark. The other team comes in, you play 25 overs, then resume at where the 25 over game was stopped earlier. So suppose at 25 overs, you were 124 for 3. Then the other team comes into play and makes 140 for 5. Now you resume at 124 for 3. That was how they played it there.
So that's to make sure that one team doesn't get too much of an advantage
But
of the
also,
conditions.
and that it's a 1 inning game.
Yeah.
It's not 2 inning game. If you say the new batters will come out again and play the 25-over game, it means you're playing effectively like a test match. You're playing a 2 inning game. So if you want to do that, then you're effectively converting 50 overs cricket into 2 T20s or 2 T25s, effectively. I can understand why they said that it'll normalize conditions. Yeah, from that point of view, it's good. What they found in Australia was that when they finished playing the first innings and evenings were good for everyone to come and watch, the lower order was batting. So nobody wanted to come and watch the lower order bat.
Tricky one. Let's get a player's perspective. What do players think of this idea? It's been around for a while now.
ODI cricket has its own charm. Now, whether it's relevant in today's world is a big question that's going around in world cricket. Where does it stand? I think people have adopted Test cricket and said that is a sort of an art cinema form. It is beautiful in its own way. It's got its magnificence that people seem to enjoy. T20 cricket is slam bang. Things happen so fast. It's a bit like it competes with football in many ways. It's the answer to football. It's quick. It's sharp. People like it. Now, ODI cricket is stuck in between. There have been many options thrown at how ODI cricket can be improved. We heard Ravi Shastri talk about whether it can be made a 40-over game, because when in 1983 it used to be 60 and they changed it to 50, it really works. So can 50 become 40 and will it work? So there are many questions doing the rounds. I, for one, don't feel 2 innings of 25 will work, and I say that only because then you will have an overkill of T20 cricket, and you don't want that. There is, as it is, enough franchisee cricket happening, and there is T20 cricket which is dominating the world. And if you have two innings of T20 cricket, I don't think it's going to work, only because there will be an overkill of it.
Also, what will happen is you effectively have 20 wickets in hand in a 50-over game. Not 10, but 50 overs, 20 wickets in hand, because you're playing 125 overs with 10 wickets in hand. Then if you want your fresh batters to come out to bat again, then you have another 10 wickets in hand, right? Let's revisit that old scenario. One team plays 25 overs, 124 for 3. One team makes 140 for 5. When you come back, all your batters are available again to bat.
Yep.
That means effectively you have 20 wickets to lose over 50 overs. So it's no longer a cricket match where you have 10 wickets to lose. You have 20 wickets to lose over 50 overs. It's a completely different cricket match then. It will, as he said, become 2 small games. So people will go hell for leather over 25 overs and hell for leather again over 25 overs. So it'll be very, very similar to T20 with just 2 innings.
There's one theory that says that it's the media buyers that are keeping ODI cricket alive, because the inventory is much more than a T20 game. I don't know any media buyers personally. Harsha, I'm not sure if you meet such people who are key decision makers on which brand puts money where, on what tournament. But the ICC at this point is in a spot where sooner or later, maybe 5 years later, after 2027, they'll have to take a call on what to do with this format. Because clearly there are not enough takers, not as many as there were, say 8 years ago.
At the moment, the ICC is laughing so much they don't have time to stop, because they have landed themselves a television deal over the next 4 years that was way more than their best expectations. So currently they're so busy laughing their heads off that they don't have time to think about what to do after 2031, 2027, I'd imagine. But the advantage of the 50-over game in peak demand situations is that you've got 100 overs. So you've got necessarily 100 stoppages, cricket being a stop-start game, 100 stoppages. So 100 sets of advertising opportunities minimum. So in a boom time situation where a lot of people are advertising on it, you've got so many advertising slots. But what if the concept itself ceases to become interesting? Then it doesn't matter how many advertising slots there are, you won't find enough takers if the game itself is not holding the generation.
We hardly saw any ads today.
It could also be today you didn't see ads because there was no game. So if you see ads in the first 20 overs, you saw some ads, but thereafter you didn't see any because the ads will be committed to be played only during playing time. But it will depend overall. If the viewership starts to drop for 50 overs cricket, then you can have as many advertising spots as possible, no one's there. Today, India-Pakistan was played from a virtually empty house today.
Yep.
I think the more critical question is, how much should you charge people to come through the stands to watch cricket when you're making a killing on television rights? If you're making so much money on television rights, then the amount of money you get through the gates becomes insignificant. Then just throw it open for everybody.
Again, DK, you've played in front of big crowds. You've played in India, Pakistan at the MCG, massive atmosphere. What if such experiences drive fans away from the sport, then the decision makers are killing the hen that lays the golden egg.
For a player, playing in front of a packed stadium is a very ethereal feeling. I think it brings out the best out of you as a sportsman, and all the good memories attached to cricket for me have been on days where crowds have come in big numbers. And I can vouch for a fact that a lot of sportsmen across the globe playing a lot of different sports will definitely have crowds which are coming in big numbers than the importance of the match being big but crowds not being around like we just saw today. So this is definitely a question that ACC would have to look at. What can they do to get crowds in? Because for an India-Pakistan game, if you're not filling up, I can promise you, if you played on Mars as well, there will be people coming in big numbers. So if it's not happening, then there is something wrong somewhere in the food chain that needs to be answered to figure out what needs to be tapped to get people inside the grounds. Because for me as a viewer, today when I was watching, I thoroughly enjoyed the cricket. These are two cricketing nations battling it out at the peak of its powers, and actually two very skilled nations. And they're just going to compete round the corner in a World Cup where we are hearing unreal pricing for the tickets in terms of what's available. So it tells me they know the value of this match, but to see no crowds there is obviously disheartening, but there must be a reason to it, and I genuinely hope that they attend to it, because you want packed houses there. I quite like what Harsha has just said, saying that if the TV rights is so big and doing so well, you might as well open the gates at a very, very minimal cost for people to come in and enjoy the cricket, because at the end of the day, you want a ground packed with people, and it's good to see on television matches where there is a lot of crowd than when there is hardly anybody around.
We've all got memories. I remember as a 10-year-old going to the Lal Bahadur Stadium, 8, 9, 10-year-old going to Lal Bahadur Stadium to watch matches. And those matches are imprinted in my mind. If the ticket prices then, for the middle-class family that we were, if the ticket prices had been high, I wouldn't have those memories today. So I believe in those days, ticket prices actually could have been higher because that was your source of revenue. But today, the ticket pricing is not such a large part of your revenue anyway. So that's my thought. But businesses are always easy to run when you don't have to run them.
Years ago, Harsha Bhogle wrote an article, and I don't remember the exact words, but he said something like, fans are the biggest stakeholders of this game.
In every sport. In every facet of life.
Is this current approach alienating fans? Are they going away from the sport?
I don't know what the ticket pricing is. Honestly, I don't know. I read that the tickets were expensively priced. That's why people couldn't come in. Some people might have said, look, it's raining. Why would I take the trouble to go all the way?
Scheduling, etc.
But scheduling is a bit different in that it's a demand-supply situation. When there's a demand-supply situation, it's the consumer who decides whether I want to go or I don't want to go. And the consumer is always king, whether it is cricket, whether it is Jawan, whether it is jailer, whether it is music, whether it is politics. The consumer is always king. So the consumer will always decide. Come what may, the consumer will decide whether he wants to go or she wants to go to watch a game or no. This case, I don't know how expensive the tickets are, but don't forget it is also being played at a time when there's a fear of rain.
Yep.
Now, people who have bought tickets for today, I'm assuming the tickets are valid tomorrow, but it means they have to spend another whole day coming up there.
And it's a working day tomorrow.
I remember when IPL started, because it was a private enterprise, instead of people coming to the IPL or to the franchise to buy tickets, the franchise went to the people.
Yep.
I remember, KKR themselves would suddenly go into the markets in Kolkata and start selling tickets because you have to make it spectator friendly at all times.
There was a tweet sent out by the Sri Lanka cricket official handle. It says that ticket prices for so-and-so stands will be reduced for the ongoing Asia Cup tournament. 1,000 per ticket, 500 per ticket, two different stands. So there has been a price reduction. This was at 2:47 p.m. today, and yet you had no fans.
It's a little late for today.
Too late as
Correct.
well. Too late as well. Should have been thought of much earlier.
I do think as the tournament progresses, you will see a lot more crowds coming in. Look, as Harsha said, business is very easily run when you're not running it. So, we need to wait and watch. There must be reasons why they're going through all of this, the way it is being done. So we need to wait and watch. But I can promise you one thing, players will love to have a packed stadium.
The worrisome thing was the Sri Lanka game wasn't full.
It was, yeah.
Sri Lanka game wasn't full.
Wasn't full.
That is
And there's been a healthy rivalry between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh for the last few years now.
Well, the voice of the fan is extremely important. What about the voice of cricket? 10th of September 1983 is when a young man from Hyderabad, took that first big step in his international cricket commentary. And we're also honored to have him amidst us today, Mr. Harsha Bhogle. Hashtag 40 years of Harsha Bhogle on cricket television, sir.
Makes me feel older and older when you keep putting it that way. I was just a young kid whom some people encouraged and threw in there, and so I was able to start very early. So I mean, I did my first Ranji Trophy. I was 19, 20 years old. I was just wide-eyed, and luckily not many people listening, so I could make all the mistakes that I wanted to.
You know, Harsha is someone who believes that humility is a very important virtue.
Very powerful.
He often asks why it is such a cult virtue. You said it in 2005. I know you're a very humble man, sir, but do you ever...
But it's not a virtue, it's just how you should be. I always worry when people look at normal things and make them out to be virtues. I'll tell you why. Humility doesn't mean I'm nobody, you're the greatest, I'm nobody. Humility means accepting that you can get better, accepting that you can have faults, and that can only strengthen you. And if you are arrogant, success often brings with it ego and arrogance. If you are arrogant, then you are not noticing the little problems that could be coming around you. After a while, the only people you have around you are the people saying, wow, what a great man you are. Then how do you know when the little mistakes start to creep in? Who's going to point out those little mistakes to you? Who's going to tell you, just be careful, you're getting a little arrogant, just be careful, you're coming unprepared to a game. So humility is not something to go, wow, you know what, I wear a badge of honor, I'm humble, Instagram post, hashtag be humble. No, it's just that you have to be aware of the fact that there are people better than you. And I'm not saying about DK. I sit with DK. The other day I sat with Ricky Ponting, and I thought, am I seeing the same game they're seeing? Because they saw so much more in the game than I did. Then it's, okay, there's something more to see over there. So this is a cricket broadcast.
The reason I brought up humility is I've often wondered if you sit back alone and introspect and look back at the last 40 years of excellence and say, listen, I've done all right. Or do you say, yaar, ye kaise ho gaya ye sab?
No, I think I've done okay, but I'm also aware of the fact that I was very lucky with certain breaks. My whole generation, the luckiest generation India has ever had, because we rode the boom of liberalization. Someone who was twice as good as me before my time would not have got 1/10 the opportunities that I got. We got the opportunities because India opened up. India opened up, and we realized when India opened up that, you know, all our lives we were told we could not be as good as other people, because that is how we had been brainwashed through years of subjugation and loot and plunder. We'd been told that you're not good enough. So we all grew up thinking we cannot be as good as some of the others. And then the world opened up, and we got our opportunity to look and say, but we can be as good too. Who decided we can't be as good? That was a piece of luck that my earlier generation was not entitled to, because India had not opened up. What happened through the middle 90s made our generation the luckiest generation of all. So we got far, far more opportunities than anyone else. And then came this other thing that only people who've played the game can broadcast. Some are very good, but not everyone. It's not mandatory that it should be that way. If I was starting today, I wouldn't get any games to do. So I was very lucky that I got all my opportunities in that period.
I think being very humble and modest. I must say this about Harsha. In
don't
the World
kid
Test Championship final that just recently happened, on the 4th day, I think it was, or the 5th day, I'm not sure. So it was me, Ricky Ponting and Harsha Bhogle. So Harsha had to do this piece where he had to come and interview us, but that happened later. At start, he had to walk and do a piece where he stood there and he had to just walk and a camera would follow him. He had to say a monologue and he's already prepared for it. He writes his own thing. That is an amazing feat for anybody, because the choice of words that he uses, the quality of English that it comes out is just very heartening to see. And you have to walk, and you have to walk in a certain path, and you have to get there. There's a camera following you, and then you have to come and stand correctly in a certain position. Now he's been around for 40 years. This is 40th year that you're talking about, and we're just standing there, and he is practicing this piece for half an hour when me and Ricky Ponting are just standing there and just talking about something which is absolutely nonsense in many ways and not relevant to what is required for the game. We're just talking general stuff. But then Harsha is just practicing this monologue back and forth, getting the camera angle light right and everything. And then the moment comes and he just does it to a T perfectly. When he does it, he writes, he memorizes it, he says it correctly, walks through, comes and stands with that. And then Ricky Ponting turns to me and says, wow, now that was amazing. I could never do something like this. And you're thinking, it is so good to see A, people appreciate Harsha, and B, obviously we both belong to the same country, so it's a lot of pride and joy that I see when somebody like Harsha, for me, he is what the com box is when it comes to India. There are a few household names there, and Harsha is right at the top of it. And today to be working with him, and he's helped me so much through this little time that I've spent as a broadcaster as well. Taught me a lot of small little things which could easily not be.
I was only investing in you because I knew you understood the T20 game better than anyone I worked with. So I thought I can learn off you as well. Actually, what Ricky said that way, but he just looked at you. You've done this before, haven't you? And coming from an Aussie, that was good enough for me. But yeah, you've had some things come with experience.
Would it be cruel to ask you what your one absolute favorite commentary moment is in the last 40 years?
That's very easy. Over the years, you only get the odd moment that you own. I can tell you what the most difficult was straight away up front. The most difficult was calling the last 2-3 overs of the India-Pakistan T20 game in Melbourne. That was easily the most difficult because as an Indian, I was getting into the moment. But as a broadcaster, you cannot be Indian on a world feed where everyone else is. So I was having to curb my enthusiasm, curb my insecurities. India going to win this, not win this, and still stay neutral, which I think I'm riding a bit against the tide when I say a broadcaster still has to be neutral. It's getting out of fashion a little bit, but it's still something that we were taught. But easily the most memorable was having the opportunity to do Tendulkar's last game. Very lucky to do so many other games, but to be able to do Tendulkar's last innings, simply because I had seen him from the time he was 14 years old. I knew exactly, in my mind, I knew what he was thinking about. I knew he was going to go back to the Wankhede Stadium to do that. And the visuals were telling a story. I remember, I've said this before, I remember that time telling myself, dude, don't talk over this. The visuals are telling the most emotional, beautiful story. Don't over talk here. And I had one of the greatest gentlemen in the broadcasting world next to me who spoke one sentence in the whole thing. Good things happen to good people. Carlos Brathwaite hits 4 sixes. Who's on air?
Sir Ian Bishop.
Correct. Why? I remember Gavaskar telling me once that he hit the winning shot at 67 not out in his debut test when Abid Ali was with him at the other end. Abid Ali was a local Hyderabad hero. And he said, "Nahi bete, your first test, you hit the winning shot." Guess what happened in 71 when India went to the Oval to won their test match against England? Who hit the winning shot? Abid Ali. Good things happen to good people. But yeah, that was something that will stay with me for a long. There've been so many others. I mean, watching players coming up, that whole generation, the Tendulkar, Dravid, Lakshman, Ganguly, Srinath, Kumble generation, they just changed the way people started looking at Indian cricket. We were very lucky that a very forward-looking broadcast channel was producing the cricket at that time. And I just happened to be around. And so the sun was beaming on everybody and it reflected a little bit on the satellites as well. So all of us in that generation, we all grew because the cricket was so fascinating. That era of Indian cricket was fantastic. A younger anchor would look at a Virat Kohli era and feel exactly the same thing. But we were growing as the medium was growing.
I'm also getting emotional listening to you.
Watching Saurav Ganguly at debut 100, watching the rise of Rahul Dravid, watching Anil Kumble perform some of his best efforts, seeing Virat Kohli come of age. Wow. So it's very lucky to be able to do that.
There's something you've done all your life.
I would have liked to be on air when you got 29 of 8 balls against Sri Lanka, but you don't get to do everything.
Maybe we'll do a video, an audio.
I'd love to because I know him so well.
Okay, there's something he's done very well for 40 years, which is to talk over pictures. How about we make him do it once again? Now, we've got a few
sorry,
pictures.
you're anchor today.
Sir, this is your moment.
You're anchor today.
Sir, this is your moment.
You can't. No. What are you giving me?
Okay, let's go for it. Let's bring up the first picture.
Where do you get these from? Okay, actually, I'll tell you this. Because not many people, I've just bowled 20 overs on the trot. I had the option of having hair like that, which very soon was an option that's got to be taken away from me. And we won the game. I'm coming back, and that's a soft drink which I wouldn't normally drink much later. Yeah, so I was tired, but I was playing for my agency side, so I was among the better players.
The hairstyle was really nice, Harsha. I must admit, it quite suits you. I can't say the same right now. Neither would it grow, nor would it last. But at that stage, it was looking really good on you.
At the moment, I have as many limitations as Mohammad Siraj has to be a middle order batsman with my hair.
The next one, unfortunately, doesn't have enough hair. Sorry, sir. Take a look. Oh, it's got a cap. Therefore, sir.
That is Bloemfontein, 1992, India's first tour of South Africa. What is most interesting in that is what is in my hand.
A typewriter.
It's a manual typewriter.
Wow.
Because electric typewriters had not yet come. Electric typewriters had 1 or 2 line memories. They had not yet come. Hey, hang on. I feel like I'm 200 years old.
Hey, it feels like that for me as well in this set.
That's a manual typewriter.
Fabulous.
So I was carrying carbon paper. I was carrying ribbon.
So who are you typing to? Anita? Love letters or? No, just checking.
I was doing commentary all day and then writing reports in 15 minutes. I had 15 minutes to type my entire match report and fax it. But I'm freelancer. If the fax doesn't go, I have to pay for it to go all over again. So if you type in 1.5 spacing, you're carrying too much paper with you. But I had 15 minutes to type the entire match report because I was doing radio commentary till then, and the media center shut down. Why was I able to type in 15 minutes? Because when I was in my 10th standard holidays, or 8th and 9th standard, I told my father I'm bored. And my father said, at this age, you're not allowed to be bored. You should be curious. He sent me for 1 month at 2 o'clock in the afternoon after lunch, riding on a bicycle to a typing class.
And that helped.
So why? I know I still type with 9 fingers. Q, W, R, T, R, P, O, I, U, Y, U, A, S, D, F, G, F, semicolon, L, K, J, H, J, this, etc. I can still type with 9 fingers. So I could type very quickly.
Next photo. Bring it up.
अब क्या दिखा रहे हो?
अरे बहुत है, sir.
That is the test in which Hirvani took 16 wickets. 1987 Chennai. I come to Chennai thinking I'm doing commentary for All India Radio. But wheels within wheels, I'm told, sorry, you're going to be doing commentary for Caribbean Radio, which is only the last 2 hours of the game. Now, last 2 hours of the game, but you're the only one doing it. Now, I'm 2 test matches old by then, at most. Yeah, just about. I have to do the entire 2 hours by myself. But in those days, India played 5.5 hours of test cricket, not 6 hours. Last session is 1.5 hours. That means there's a 20-minute tea break in those 2 hours. I have to fill tea all by myself as well.
Wow.
Luckily, someone came and helped me. That was Shivaji Das Gupta, the wonderful football commentator from Kolkata, who came and said, I'll help you. And he helped me fill those 20 minutes.
One more. We got one final picture for you to look at.
Melbourne, right, DK? That's the corridor in Melbourne?
Yes.
I was walking by, there's Mahi coming in, MS coming from there, and I said to him, you know what? I said, I don't have a photograph with you. He said, chal, abhi le lo. That is that photograph.
Wow.
Melbourne? Where would it be?
That looks Melbourne, right?
Melbourne, no?
Just outside the side.
Yeah.
The
The players' change room at the corridor that goes through to the commentary boxes.
Fabulous.
The Combox I haven't been to.
You will. You
but
will
I
very
remember
soon.
that spot very, very well.
You will very soon. So
Wow. It's
he's someone I don't know at all.
Yeah.
I've only ever met him socially once in all these years. I met him once socially. That is it. I can't claim to know. Some people say, what about Dhoni? I said, I don't know him very well as a person. The best I've got to know him is at the post-match presentations. Because he's a very private man. When you get to meet him, he chats, but I've never been privy to that inside circle. And I've never tried very hard to say, can I get to know you better? So I can't say I know him very well.
Before we wrap up, it's also an opportunity for us to thank people who have helped him, enabled him. Mrs. Anita Bhogle, your 2 sons, your parents as well. So all of us.
My children are my gurus now. My children look at me and say, why on earth would you do that on social media? So they're my social media gurus. My younger son, when he became a lawyer, said, will you at least read contracts now? Because I get bored reading contracts. I don't know how you do it, DK.
I don't know, Harsha. I don't know why you think I'd even read a contract ever. These are things that...
At page 3, I get bored. So the easiest way to con me is to send me a 12, 13-page contract with the important clauses on pages 7 and 8. I'll never get that far. So when he became a lawyer, he said, at least now will you read the contracts or will you let me read them? So now I've got someone reading the contracts and they find things in the contract that I never knew existed. So
But it's so important to have such enablers around for you to go and do what you do, sir.
yes, I've realized that a little late in life. I always wanted to do everything myself. So yeah.
Right. It's been fun. So personally, thank you, sir, for what you do. You and
Who are you talking to?
Sachin. Yeah, of course. Who
This is
else?
quite a
what-
special show, isn't it? I mean,
What do you say after
I'm sure
thank
he's
you?
done a million shows, but never has a show been about him. So it's quite a nice feeling to be part of this show.
Amazing. So, well, the rain dealer allowed us to talk about other things. But quick reminder of where things stand. India 147 for 2 in 24.1. Play continues tomorrow from this very point. It will be a 100-over game. Play starts at 3 p.m. That is what it is. India will complete batting out their 50 overs. Pakistan will also get 50 overs to bat if there is no rain. What else is left? Joy factor. Let's quickly bring up the question that was sent by Mr. Bhattacharya. What is it? If it is Shane Warne at the MCG, Wasim Akram at Sharjah, Sean Pollock at the Wanderers, who is it at Lords? So,
Wasim Akram at Sharjah is a slight giveaway. I would imagine it's most wickets taken at the ground. I saw a lot of those wickets that Wasim has took at Sharjah, but I didn't know the answer, I must admit. I mean, you'd guess. If you had to sit down and guess, you'd guess Anderson.
who is the winner? Let's quickly bring it up.
What does Anderson have that nobody else has? He runs in from his own end.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine running in? Here's Anderson running into bowl from the Jimmy Anderson end.
Wow.
Yeah,
Who's the winner?
that's at Manchester.
Let's quickly
yeah.
bring up the name Parth Narodia.
He's won many.
Well done.
Yeah, he's won many.
He's one of those regulars from Joy's fan club.
No, I'm telling you, Joy enters the quiz himself with Joy's got 8 or 10 different names himself. So he's
Sir, any final thoughts? Did you get emotional today?
no. No, I did in the morning at home when I saw the responses on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter. Yeah, you would. When you get to my age, you'll get emotional too. Yeah, I did get a little.
You know,
bit. I thought, "Chalo, kuch kiya hai life mein."
When you started out, there was no digital.
There was no Dinesh Karthik, there was no Parthiv Patel.
There weren't enough channels, and yet
No.
you sort of stuck
But we
it out, you
benefited.
hustled, and here you are 40 years later.
But we benefited from the fact that there were not enough channels. So you got one, there was no one else coming
No,
in.
the point I'm getting at is when a batter does all the hard work, reaches 40, he's got to convert it to 50, sir. So we need 10 more from you at least.
Yeah, but also I was lucky in that I started at a time when it was not only television or only radio. You had to be in print. You had to know your stats. So if you ask me in 90, 91, 92, I knew the stats of all the first-class players because you had to know that. Also, you started on radio to recognize everybody. Television gives you bad habits. You don't need to recognize the players anymore. So you had to be a generalist. And if you were like me, who was neither a great player nor a great looker, you had to work your backside off.
10 more.
I am not so sure, no.
More on that off air. That's it from all of us for now on Cricbuzz Live. It's been a rather special day. We got to hear so many stories from the great man. Make sure you join us at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow for another India-Pakistan preview show. It's called Cricbuzz Live in English and Hindi. To join us. Good night.